Hello everyone, I am Minkle, Marketing Head at MoogleLabs, and it is with great pleasure that we host you today for the webinar CI/CD with Jenkins with Arjit Chauhan, DevOps Engineer at MoogleLabs. To start, I will take a few minutes to talk about our organization and explain the format of the today's webinar. Founded by seasoned IT professionals, MoogleLabs specializes as accelerators and developers in future technologies to enable digital transformation. We are established in Canada with our development centers in India and Australia. Our experts have helped several clients globally improve their operations using AI, ML, DevOps, blockchain, data science, Web 3.0, and metaverse. If you need services in this niche, we would be happy to connect with you at an individual level to discuss the work in detail. As for the webinar, firstly, Mr. Arajit will be will be giving presentation on CI/CD with Jenkins on behalf of Moogle Labs and discuss its overall potential. The webinar will take around 30 to 45 minutes, then all the participants can take some time to ask industry specific questions. Please feel free to add your questions to the chat as they arise. Mr. Arajit will address them at the end. Also, if you can please keep your screens on to see the presentation as a speaker goes through various points. Now let's welcome our expert engineer to take over the screen.
Thank you, Mikkel. Hello everyone. My name is Arjit Chauhan and I am a DevOps engineer in MoogleLabs. Today, I am going to present a webinar on a topic CI/CD with Jenkins. Here we go. Now, here is the table of contents. First is the introductions to a Jenkins. The next is about the history. I tell you about the interesting history about the Jenkins. Then comes to an architecture. In this architecture, I show you the complete Jenkins flow in our organization. Then comes to features, plugins, then Jenkins pipelines, and the Jenkins files. Now next will be the comparison of CI/CD tools with the Jenkins. Now advantages, installing and configuring, and last is I show the demo CI/CD of React application. Now first is introduction to Jenkins. Before moving to the introductions, I give you the small descriptions about what is continuous integrations and the continuous development. Continuous integrations approach is to test the change of code automatically, and the continuous development approach is to obtain the changes for new features, configurations, and the bug fixings. Similarly, the Jenkins is an open source continuous integration and continuous development software DevOps tools that is written in a Java programming language. Jenkins is a self-contained open source automations that can be used to automate all the sort of tasks related to the building, testing, and deploying software. It uses the plugins. Actually, plugin enhance the functionalities of a Jenkins environment that suits the organization or a user specific needs. Jenkins use the plugins for buildings and testing the project code continuously. Along with that, they can easily help for the developers for the modifications according to these requirements. Jenkins can be installed through a native system packages, Docker, or even run by a machine with a Java runtime environments. JRE must be installed. It is simply used to implement a CI/CD workflow. So this is all about the introductions to Jenkins. Now move to the another slides that is about history. So Kosuke was the first developer that developed the Jenkins. Actually, every time that is try to build that is code breaks the build. So in 2004, it developed a Jenkins to perform the continuous integrations. So these types of Jenkins then test the code, then and actually test the code, then for the actually commit to the repositories. In 2010, when the Sun Microsystem acquired the Oracle. Sun Microsystem is acquired by the Oracles. There was a dispute between the Oracle and the Hudson community with respect to the infrastructures. So there was a call a vote in Jan 11, 2011 to change the project name from the Hudson to the Jenkins. After that Jan 29, 2011, creating the first Jenkins project. Actually, the former name of the Hudson is in Jenkins. Is a trademark by the Oracle. So now to move to the next slides, It's about then architectures. So come to then architectures. First, we move to the development part here, where the developer writes their code and push into then GitHub. Then and come to the Jenkins parts. The Jenkins must ensures that our testing server or the production server must connect it to the Jenkins. So if you are to connect to the Jenkins, you must know that we have to install the plugins of SSH, publish over SSH. The Jenkins checks the shared repository in the periodic intervals, and every check-in it's then pull, then builds. Then after that, Jenkins deploy the build application to the testing server. And after the testing was successfully, the build applications deployed to the production server. This is all the process that commit, build, test, and stages, and deploy in dev QA. After that, it to the production server. Main thing you must add the triggers, that is connections between the GitHub and the Jenkins. So every change in the code, it Jenkins automatically fetch the code from the GitHubs and recycles that way continuous integrations and the continuous deployment to the final productions. So this is all about the architectures of a Jenkins that use in our organizations. Now come to then Jenkins masters and the Jenkins slaves. Jenkins masters and the Jenkins slaves are the architectures that manage the distribution of the builds. Jenkins masters and the Jenkins slaves are communicate through the transmissions control protocols. Jenkins master distribute the workload to the Jenkins slaves, and the Jenkins slaves works on the basis of receive and request from the Jenkins masters. Jenkins Masters is the main Jenkins server, and it is responsible for scheduling the build jobs and dispatching the build to the slave for actual executions. The Jenkins Masters also monitor the slave by either taking them online or offline according to the requirements. There are some features of a Jenkins Masters. It organizes the build projects. It keeps an eyes on the slaves at all the times. Masters can also run the builds jobs directly if it is necessary and keep track of all the build outcomes and show them. It can also help in recording and presenting of a build results. The master instance can also help in direct execution of the build job. The most important elements in the Jenkins architectures is the Jenkins slaves. It is a Java executable running on a remote machine that hear the request from the Jenkins master instance. Slaves can be operated on a number of different operating systems. The next available slaves, the Jenkins execute the build task and also completed the constructions operations that the masters has dispatched. You can configure a project to always run on a particular slave machine or simply let the Jenkins pick the next available slaves. User can run the slave on a wide range of other operating systems and they execute the build job sent by the masters. So this is all about the Jenkins masters and the Jenkins slaves. Now come to the key features of an Jenkins. Here, the first one is a variety of the plugins. Jenkins plugins is the extension of a Jenkins masters. This add that the complete expansions of a Jenkins capabilities as well as the integrations of a Jenkins compared to the other softwares. Jenkins plugins can be downloaded from the Jenkins repository URL. And the Jenkins can claim that over 1500 plus plugins will be available in the Jenkins community. And most important, the Jenkins has a great deals with their customizations. Now come to the second part, that is simple installations and the configurations. Actually, Jenkins is a self-contained and they run on the Java based program. So they does not care about the platform. Jenkins is a platform independent. They can run in Mac OS or as well as in Windows. So may come to then configurations parts that the Jenkins online interface is a simple to set up and configures, including the error checks and built-in help features. And in configurations that you must check that the sometime in the production time you need a Jenkins files. So Jenkins files need a code in a descriptive syntax pipeline or a scripted syntax. Now come to the open source availability. Jenkins is an open source project and entirely free to use. Jenkins has a vibrant development communities that means both in person and the online regularity. Jenkins communities that quite involved and give a extensive CI/CD, effective CI/CD tools. Now come to the fourth point, a significant degree of extensibilities. Jenkins communities that is the backbone and the members has play a vital role in the developments. Jenkins is built so that it can be extensible over any environment and platform for a faster developer testings and the deployments. So the last one is server-based securities. In the server-based securities, we use a common mechanism by the multi-factor authentications. Access the server via Jenkins web user interface of a few numbers of peoples and the limited access of a few numbers of people as a possible. Jenkins used an internal database has a security features as well. To access these capabilities, they use security realm and the authentication realm for that support the security purpose of an Jenkins. So this is all about the key features of an Jenkins. Now move to then plugins. I already told you the plugin enhance the functionalities of a Jenkins environments that suits the organizations or a user specific needs. A plugin is an enhancement to the Jenkins system and they help in extended Jenkins capability and integrated Jenkins with other softwares. Plugin assist with an integrating additional development tools into the Jenkins environments. And the plugins can be downloaded from the online Jenkins plugin repository and loaded using the Jenkins web user interface or a command line interface. Currently, the Jenkins community claims over 1500 plus plugins is available on a wide range of uses. There is some plugins that I have to explain that the first one is Kubernetes plugins. Kubernetes plugin is a great for automating builds agents on a Kubernetes clusters. These plugins will dynamically creates a Kubernetes pods that house a build agent that has started and will stop the agent once the build has completed. Next one is the Git plugins. Git plugins allow job to connect to remote repository. Actually, when the Jenkins fetch the code from the GitHub, they must install the GitHub plugins so can easily access the code. Now, third one is EC2 plugin. EC2 plugin is used to Jenkins so automatically prevent AWS. For the EC2 must be connect to the AWS server. In the case you have deploy on the EC2 server, you must install the EC2 plugins. And last one is JUnit plugins. JUnit plugins provide a graphical visualizations for our test results. It also provide a user interface for viewing test reports and the failures. So this is all about the Jenkins plugins. So this is a plugins manager. Here you can install the plugins, available plugins also there, and you can update the plugins over there. Now come to the Jenkins pipelines and the Jenkins files. The role of a Jenkins in DevOps is primarily due to the pipeline as a code concept, followed by the Jenkins. Jenkins pipeline is a collection of an plugins that implement and that helps in implement and integrated the code pipeline deploy in a Jenkins. The continuous pipeline is an automated process for obtaining software from the version control to the users and their customers. Every change in the software committed to the source control goes through a complex process by which is then being released. This process involves the software buildings in a repeatable and reliable manner through the multiple stages of testings and deploying. Jenkins pipeline is defined using a text files called the Jenkins files. Creating a Jenkins files and committed to the source control leads to a number of benefits. Automatically it create the pipeline process for all the branches and pull requests and code review the through the pipelines. The pipelines implement has a code using Groovy domain specific language through an editor or the configuration pages on a Jenkins instance. Jenkins files give the leverage to the developer to easily access or edit or check the code anytime. Jenkins files can be created by a script or a code. It is a steps and the steps will execute the entire pipelines. So this all about the Jenkins pipeline. Now come to the Jenkins files. These are the two types of Jenkins files over there. The first one is declarative pipeline syntax and the second one is scripted pipeline syntax. In the declarative pipeline syntax, we create a Jenkins files and will be in a source control management. You must know that the declarative syntax is the new features that uses the code for the pipeline. It provides a limited predefined structures, and it's offer easy and the simple continuous delivery pipeline. The scripted pipeline is an old way for the pipeline to create it in the Jenkins user dashboards. Scripted pipeline, the syntax is the old traditional way to write and Jenkins files on a Jenkins web user interface. Moreover, it allows the groovy syntax and helps to develop a complex pipeline as in code. In the demo, I show you the declarative pipeline syntax that I created in the source control management. So this is about the Jenkins files. Now the comparison of Jenkins tools with an other. So nowadays we have seen that the Jenkins will be the top rated as compared to the AWS code pipeline and the Azure DevOps. Actually, has compared to the AWS code pipeline and Azure DevOps. Every time the build started, the CI/CD workflow is activate. They take the charges. Either the build was successful or not. But the Jenkins is just a free of cost. It also shows the logs and it just also does not take any charges. So Jenkins most use a CI/CD solutions. It's only a three that no expense required, limitless integrations, and then active communities. These are the major steps that the Jenkins is leading nowadays. Now come to the advantages. So Jenkins is in a platform independent that already told you that the Jenkins is available for all the platform and the different operating systems. Rich in plugin ecosystem, the Jenkins, the extensive pool of plugins, make the Jenkins flexible and allow building, deploying, and automating across various platforms. And a open source and a user friendly, easy to install and does not require additional installations or the component. It's just a free of cost. Issues are detected and resolved almost the right way, which keeps the software in the states where it can be released at any time safely. This is all about the advantages of a Jenkins. Now come to the installing and configuring Jenkins. We install the Jenkins in a Ubuntu server with 18, 20 or 22. Minimum 256 MB of RAM required and the 1 GB of drive space for the solo use. However, no less than 10 GB is recommended if the Jenkins run inside a Docker. Then the 4 GB of RAM, 50 GB of drive space, and the must Oracle JDK is 8 or a 12 or an 11. You must important that there are Jenkins run at the default port 80 and 80. So these are the two steps to install the Jenkins Ubuntu server. The first is the installing the Java development kit. And the second steps, the installing the Jenkins. So these are the commands to install the Jenkins in a Ubuntu. After installing the Jenkins, you can see that the Jenkins was successfully installed in our Ubuntu server. You can check the status of a Jenkins. Now next is if you copy the IP that the Jenkins will install in the particular server with a colon 80, Jenkins will be shows like that. And by using the sudo cat worldlib commands, you can get the administrative password. After that, the Jenkins asks that you install the plugins, install the suggested plugins that the Jenkins provide or install the plugins that you want to require. Now next, move on to the dashboard. After all the configurations, the Jenkins dashboard show like this. Here will be the new items, build history and manage Jenkins. We can create a job also there. So now I show the demo of CI/CD of React application. First of all, this is our instance that the Jenkins will be installed. I show you that. So this is the way the Jenkins, after installing the Jenkins Ubuntu server, so Jenkins will be start. Now can you get the administrative password? So connect this server. All right. So actually copy this command that to get the administrative password. paste here. Look, we get the administrative password. Now copy this password, paste here, and click on continue. So now it shows that install the suggested plugins that the Jenkins provide or install the plugins you selected. Now select the suggested plugins. Just click on that. Now look, it start installing the plugins. So here is a shows the kit plugins, SHS build agents, Cradles, and all the plugins will be automatically downloaded in the Jenkins. Look, sometimes over there, look, a pipeline, GitHub, Groovy libraries also will be installed. Now it started. Look, our Jenkins plugin is successfully installed. Here we write the username, then password, then confirm password, full name, and enter the email ID. After that, save and continue. It shows the IP that the Jenkins runs. And now save, click on save and finish. Now Jenkins is ready to use. So this is after is configured, it is done. The Jenkins shows this dashboard. Now I show the plugins, how to install the plugins. Now click on manage plugins. Go to manage and write SSH. This is SSH is very important to connect our server. Click on public over SSH, install without restart. So it downloaded the look, it downloaded the plugin extension. Our plugin extension was successfully downloaded. Now I show you how to connect our instance through the Jenkins. Now click on manage Jenkins. Now click on configure Jenkins, configure systems. Go into the last and see here passphrase. Here you write the password according to what you required, and this is paste the PEM file. By creating a EC2 server, it shows it gives the PEM file to access over SSH. So this is paste the PEM file over here and name the SSH server that I mentioned, the React hyphen test, and this is the host. This is the IP. I show you this. This is an IP like a host name I pasted here, and username is Ubuntu. I created the EC2 instance in Ubuntu. Now click on test connection. Look, our Jenkins, our EC2 instance is successfully connected to the Jenkins. Now click on apply, then save. Our Jenkins is successfully connected with the EC2 instance. Now move to the GitHub. This is our simple React application. So now in this GitHub, I show you how to create a webhook connection. For this, click on setting and move to webhook. Now click on add webhook and paste this IP over there. Now paste that IP, write GitHub hyphen webhook, then slash and send me everything and add webhook. Look, our webhook is successfully connected with our Jenkins. Now move to the Jenkins. First, we create a job. Click on create a job, right? React CI/CD 1. Now click on pipeline, press OK. So after create a job successfully, now move to this and click on GitHub hook trigger. After that, there is a pipeline. So click on pipeline script from source control management. Here a source control management, you have to select the Git. Now it asks for the repository URL. For this, you have to copy this link, move to Jenkins and paste here. Now credential, it asks for the Jenkins credentials. Now you have to write the branch, main branch. After that, you can click on apply, then save. So our job is successfully created. After that, click on build job. Now look, our build was successfully start. So I show you our Jenkins files. This is our Jenkins file. There will be the stages. First step is build. Now it react to the configure name is React test. So it connected to the server to the React test, and there will be execution commands. First command for the React is npm install, then npm run builds. So it transferred the whole file to this particular server. After that, build was successfully done. Now come to the deploy stage. This is the deploy stage. Now again, it's connect to the React test, transfer that all the files and copy to the build file through the var, ww and html. So this is all about the Jenkins files. This Jenkins files written in the scripted pipeline syntax. If you go to the Jenkins, so it takes some time over there to complete the build. You can check the log also. See, it connected to the host IP, then connected with the configure React test. After it sent the complete files, transfer the 18 files. So our CI/CD workflow is done. It fetch the command from the Git. Now we create the builds and finally it deploy the build to the server. Now move to the instance, copy this IP and paste here. Look, outcome will come MoogleLabs DevOps. Now play the role of trigger. Now move to the GitHub, come to source file, click on app.js and write DevOps teams. And now commit changes. So source commit. Now if move to then Jenkins, refresh it. Look, it Jenkins automatically trigger. So any commit change in the source code, it Jenkins fetch the code. So now it connect to the GitHub. Now build it started in progress. You can check the log also. Connected from the host IP, connected with the configuration React test. The build started and finally it moved to the deploy. Look, our CI/CD is completely done. If you go to the React app, refresh it. Look, it look like MoogleLabs DevOps teams. So this is all about the CI/CD workflow within Jenkins. So now I take a rest, need a break, and Minkle has a few words to say.
Hello everyone, it's me again. Before we move to question answer round, I would like to take a few minutes of your time to talk about our company Moogle Labs for those who have joined a bit late. Moogle Labs is a brainchild of experienced IT professionals who work towards the digital transformation of their clients' business operations using the latest technologies like AI, ML, DevOps, blockchain, data science, and metaverse. Through this webinar, we aim to help others know the power of latest technology. And if you ever need an IT company that supports this technology, we would be happy to help you decode innovation and improve your business efficiency. Now that's out of the way, Mr. Arjit can take over from here and answer the question in the chat.
So the Vikrant said, what is a disadvantage of using Jenkins? So Vikrant, when install a Jenkins on that particular server, if the server will just stopped, so Jenkins will be not longer to work that. So that is the main disadvantage of a Jenkins in that particular server. And another is that if the plugins will be not updated successfully, so that we can also break the CI/CD workflow over there. So Shivani asked that how can we use a Jenkins built in another cloud service? So in they depends upon the cloud configuration. Here in Jenkins, we can connect the AWS through a various plugin. I show you in this move manage plugins. Here you write AWS. You can install the plugins over there to connect with an AWS like EC2, ECR, ECS, IAM. So in Azure, the Azure portal already have a Jenkins to connect over there. Can we change the port of a Yes, Shubham, yes, we can change the port of a Jenkins. I show you that how to change the port by using some commands. You can easily change the port. First, we connect to this. We have a command also there by using this. This is a command that we can user lib system Jenkins.service. Here we can ch change the port of a Jenkins, right? In environmental Jenkins ports, right? 8081, then save it. Now, second command is daemon reloaded. Last is restart the Jenkins. Before we restart, the second question, what is the way to trigger the Jenkins pipeline job? So there is a some common ways to trigger a Jenkins that like triggering manually from Jenkins web applications, and trigger is using Jenkins command line interface from the master or the slave nodes, and Jenkins based schedules trigger like an cone job, and event based trigger like source control management. So in this is restart the Jenkins successfully. Now go to instance, paste this IP. Wait one. Look, Jenkins restart. So you can easily change the port of the Jenkins, any Jenkins by using all these commands. And goes ask that how to create a backup and a copy of file in Jenkins. Actually, there is a folder like a Jenkins home. You can Jenkins homes that the build logs and all the configuration store in this particular Jenkins home directory. So you can create a backup or any other copy file. You must take a backup of the Jenkins homes. Like in a Docker, we all the backup is stored in the volumes. In just like a Jenkins, all the backup and the copy files in our Jenkins home. So this is how to create a backup. So this is all about the Jenkins over there. Thank you all for joining the webinar. Minkle.
The next session from Mughal Labs will be on NFT fundamentals hosted by Gurpreet Singh and Ravinder Singh. Please drop your email address in the chat and we will be keep posted about the latest events. Also, if anyone needs presentation, please drop your email in the chat section. We will send you as soon as possible. Thank you so much, everyone.